Oh, there is people in here already. Hi, Pauline, Katie, Ivy and Ray. Hi, Linda. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Janet, Adrian, Dina, Elizabeth and Martha. Hi, Jeannie. Hi, Karen. It's started raining a lot in Southampton Common. If any of you can hear me and see me, please say something because I'm really, really worried. Hi, Liz. Hi, Mary. Hi, Roger. Hi, guys. I'm glad that you can see me and hear me because, yeah, it literally, I'm just going to flip the camera just so you can see it's actually raining a lot. There you go. I'm sure you can see these lovely droplets. Yeah, it's literally just come through. So it's going to be a little bit wet. But anyway, I am very lucky because as you can see, James the Roman is here helping me with an umbrella. So as long as the umbrella holds, we may be able to get you seeing something today. I'm so sorry about this, guys. And yeah, Liz, I don't know how it's over in the Isle of Wight, but yeah. Hi, Mary from Eugene, Oregon. I hope that the weather is better than what is here right now. You guys are going to get a proper British weather experience. So at least don't say that I don't give you authentic content. Yeah, it's raining a lot. Quite a lot. How nice that you have your own personal... Honestly, it was completely like by chance. Like because I was coming to do the tour here. We thought it may be like a good chance to just go for a walk because the weather was actually really nice until the moment that we got to the park. And just the weather started pouring down. So there you go. It's very lucky that he's here because otherwise I don't even have a raincoat or anything. I just would be drenched. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for being so supportive, guys. Jeannie just not reached you yet. Yeah, it will come your way, Jeannie. Hi, Joan. We are trying to get started without getting wet. The umbrella, the only purpose of the umbrella is keeping the gimbal safe. That's all we have to do. I'm sending you some 100-degree wow, Arizona. That I don't know how much this is in Celsius, but I know it's a lot. So you're very, very lucky, and I'm very, very jealous. Liz, this will be a blast from the past. Grandparents and oh my God, that's so nice. Katie, good afternoon from Connecticut. First time with you. Katie, I'm so sorry that on your first tour, you're getting horrible British weather because it's raining a lot. So I'm hoping we can salvage some of this. Please don't let the rain put you off. Hi, Peter. Mary, we have sunshine, had lots of rains. I know that sucks. Yeah, Ivy and Andre, I suspect that 100+ degrees, it means like hellish type of heat. Hi, Tina. Hi, DS. 37 degrees Celsius. Oh my God. Yeah, okay. I mean, it's good, but I don't know what I prefer.
I would die.
So, you know. I don't know if you can hear. You may get James's commentary every so often. He just went, "I would die." So we're not very well built for the heating here. Oh, right. Okay. Well, the weather seems to be giving us a window, which is great. And I am now live. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Lilian Céspedes González. Please just call me Lily because I'm Spanish. I have a really long name. And it is doctor because I'm a historian. I have a PhD from the University of Winchester. And today, holding the umbrella that's keeping us safe, we have James the Roman. So
could have been inside playing video games right now.
So, you know, if this tour actually goes well, it's all thanks to the fact that James is here, guys. So the kudos goes entirely to him. And I'll explain what we're doing today here and why am I even out. So we are currently in Southampton Common. It is actually the largest park that we have here in Southampton. It's actually just north from the city center area where we normally have done our tours. So it's a very different part of town. And one of the reasons why I wanted to take you out here today, A, is because it was supposed to be a very nice spring day. Whoops, never mind. But B, because it's also local history month. If you've had a couple of tours with me already this month, you've probably heard me say this a lot. But I thought it was really important to, have these conversations and bring you to places that are important for the community of Southampton that maybe not tourists or people who are not local may know about. And the Common as well is also the place where we have one of the historical cemeteries in Southampton, which is where we are right now, and it's where we're starting the tour. So we are departing from the old cemetery, which is where I'm right now. We're going to walk through the Commonwealth war graves as well, from World War I and World War II, and then we will get part of the Common as well. The park is 365 acres, so obviously we're not going to walk it all. It has a running sort of perimeter of 5 kilometers, so I don't think in this weather it would be advisable that we do the whole trek. But it's good to show you some bits and give you some wildlife as well, because Southampton Common is very important here in the UK, because it's one of the biggest wildlife preserves that we have in an urban area in the south of England. And we are actually home to one of the rarest species of newts in the UK, which is actually in danger, which is the great crested newt. Now, we're not going to go visiting ponds, so we're probably not going to see any of them. But I thought I would bring this, to your attention, because one of the main reasons why we have this space here is because the city council keeps on paying a lot of money to protect this area for the wildlife. So that's what you can expect from this tour today. That and probably a lot of rain. So there we go. This is going to be a very interesting experience. Right, I'm going to flip the camera and we're going to get started. And like I said, we are currently in the old Southampton Cemetery. That's what it's called. What you're seeing now is, tons and tons of the graves that we have in here. The cemetery here at the Common occupies nearly a fourth of the entirety of the park, so it is really, really big. And guys, I don't particularly like cemeteries. I've always been a bit sort of, not necessarily scared, but I don't know, and not very at ease in cemeteries. I think it's because cemeteries in Spain are very different from the United Kingdom. But this one is actually very beautiful. It is an incredibly important historic moment for the city of Southampton, and I just really wanted to show you. Right, okay, we're gonna start walking up. I'm just gonna let that bike go, and then we're gonna start walking up, and we're gonna be doing a magic trick here as James tries to decide where the umbrella goes, and I go, and in return. Yeah. Oh, Ivy, thank you. I'm glad you like it. It is honestly very, very gorgeous. The cemetery actually dates from the 19th century, and if any of you have come to any of my other tours before, particularly the one where we talk about the docks, it was actually built just a few years after the Southampton docks are finished, which is the reason why they needed to actually get a cemetery, because up until that moment in time, Southampton barely had a population of about 10,000 inhabitants. And then with the dry docks from where the Titanic departed, they increased to nearly 100,000. So, it was very important to make sure that there was a place to keep all of the remains of people safe. And in this cemetery as well, they have 3 different chapels from the late 19th century and early 20th century. We're only going to be seeing the exterior of this one, which is actually a Church of England chapel. And I think we are going to pass the grave of one of the first reverends for this chapel. The other 2 chapels that they have in this cemetery are a Jewish chapel, because there is, or at least there was a big Jewish community here in Southampton, and an independent church, which is on the other end of the cemetery, and we're not going to see it. And this grave that I've just up in front is actually one of the earliest that we have here. I would get closer like in person, but it's so wet, I don't want to slide, so I'm just using the zoom. And it dates from 1872, so literally just a few years after the cemetery is built. It is currently still in use, this cemetery, guys. We do have some modern graves, but it is limited to the 60 families of Southampton who have already been buried here and still have bought land to keep their family safely protected here. So it's only 60 people from the current modern population that are allowed to be buried here. Now, the reason why I wanted to stop in front of this beautiful memorial is because it is actually a Grade Listed 2 building. Now, for those of you, well, not building in this case, but monument. And for those of you who may not be familiar with the UK and how we preserve heritage, if a building is a Grade Listed building, or if a monument has that sort of rating, that means that it's considered of historical importance and cultural importance for the UK. This one, I'll read you what the inscription says. Sacred to the memory of Robert Pierce, who died 17th of March 1861, aged 68. Also Hannah, his wife, died 3rd of January 1891. Emily, wife of the Captain G. Waterhouse, and relict of the H.R.S. Pierce, Esquire, died 7th of November 1876, age 39. And the sculpture for this beautiful piece that we have here is Richard Coco Lucas, who is relatively well known here in the south of England for doing this type of handiwork. So as you can see, it's rather beautiful and not something that you see just in any other cemetery. So all of the graves on this end that we're seeing, like I said, are some of the earliest ones. Now, when we leave the cemetery, which is gonna be very soon, we're gonna go into the second part of the cemetery, which is actually dedicated to some of the people related to the Titanic. So not victims of the Titanic, just either people who survived it or their children, etc. And some of the Commonwealth war graves. This is a mausoleum which is actually from the 1928, so already in the 20th century. And this is one of the families that still have the right to be buried in Southampton, who are the Allens. And this, just for those of you who may be curious, is actually the grave from one of the reverends who was actually priest here in the church that I've been showing you, in this little chapel over there. So he paid a lot of service for the community, bought a plot for his family and himself, and then when he died, he was also buried here in the cemetery. Right, well, this chapel is actually very quaint. I mean, it's very severely renovated in the 20th century, as you can imagine. Unfortunately, the shot is completely ruined by the recycling rubbish that they are having just outside. But I thought I would still show it to you because it's very nice and it is actually very charming. Okie dokie. And just very quickly, I'm just gonna pass James and the umbrella. This is actually one of the war memorials overall that we have here in the city. Just, you know, not necessarily for the people who made it back, but for all of those who unfortunately died both in the First and in the Second World War. And there is another memorial who I want to show you. It's actually very recent, but I think it's just a very nice gesture from the community. I'm just moving to it before we leave the park. Mary, this will be interesting to see where Titanic... Yeah, there is actually... The route actually takes over 90 minutes, and the graves are not in the most accessible place. So I will try and map it out and see if we can do it sometime, because I think that would be really cool. But yeah, Katie, I sometimes wonder if I'd be a different person if I had grown up in a place like Arizona. I think I would have. Right, look at this. This is a memorial dedicated to the many souls buried in this cemetery who sadly have no grave markers. Now, a lot of people sort of ask, well, if they are in the cemetery and they're buried, why there wouldn't be any grave markers? In the 19th century, and even in this day and age, guys, getting buried and having a funeral costs a lot of money. And back in the day, even if you just had a simple slab, you know, that's something that you would have to take to a stonemason. That would be skilled labor, and not everybody had the money for it. We also have a few sort of communal graves, because Southampton Common had, for a little while at the end of the 19th century, a hospital for victims of cholera. Now, because cholera was such a contagious disease and they didn't really understand it very well, a lot of them actually ended up in common graves, and they were put here in the old cemetery. But of course, you know, you can't really start identifying those people, which is a shame. And these are the memorial gates for the cemetery, by the way. Let me give you there a moment so you can see them. I really much more prefer the weather in the UK. Maybe we should swap places. Excellent. Well, now we're gonna go to the left here in this little sidewalk. So this is already Southampton Common, by the way, even though there is a huge road that crosses by it. And we're just gonna go in the area where the Commonwealth war graves are. I've identified a few of them, so I can show you those relatively well, and they are fairly accessible, so we don't have to go digging for them very much. But as you can see, this is a very different type of sort of style, and it's nice that they've sort of respected the general landscape of the common just to have the cemetery in here as well, because in a lot of other places they probably wouldn't have done that. Ivy, I'm with you about living in the UK. Oh wow, guys, maybe we should bring you here. I don't know if you would think the same after a while, but hey, who knows? Hi, Teresa. So we're just walking to some of the Belgium actually war memorial here. I'm just gonna take this left. Oh, I think it may have just stopped raining. Yay! Hallelujah. Okay, so I'm sure you can see here these graves that are marked with the flag of Belgium, and some of them actually have pictures. So the reason why these are here, this is the memorial to the Belgian soldiers that died actually helping out the British in the trenches. So that's the reason why these graves are here for the starters. And a lot of these people were brought here to be buried by their descendants. So it's not necessarily that they died in the UK, but they were brought back from the war. It was lovely in lockdown 2020 when we couldn't leave home. Yeah. So let me just show you some of these, because as you can see, some have pictures, which is not common to see at all. But I think it's nice, you know, to be able to get a better idea of who may be the people we are commemorating right there. So he says Franz Louis van den Eyden and J.L. Beckman, they share a grave here. And if I go back without sliding or breaking into anything, I'll show you the other one. Yeah, I know, right? Ivy, it's nice. Teresa, these are from World War One. So these are all people that actually died a year before or after the armistice around 1918. This is another gentleman. Actually, there is several people buried on these graves. I don't know to whom the picture actually belongs to, but we have Mr. Fumier, Lupe, Masson, and Salembière. So it must be one of those heroic men that is commemorated here. And there is another one here, which is quite cute, because it has a commemorative stone by the grandchildren in there. I don't know if you can see it. À notre grand-père et arrière-grand-père, famille Lever de Noël. So that is in the memory of our grandfather and great-grandfather, the family Lever de Noël. Which again, I think is something that we don't get to see very often. So I thought this would be a nice one to show you, because it's, well, it's, like I said, fairly easy to access, and it's not very common that we get European soldiers buried in here. So I thought that would make a nice one. Okay, well, we're just gonna carry on walking. No, now that it's dry, I can actually try to sort of speed up a bit more to a couple of graves that I wanted to show you as we go through. I'm just having to be careful because it's still a bit slippery. But as you can see, this is a very, very peaceful park. I mean, even though we have plenty of light, people don't come to this end all that much, because like I said, the park is just huge. So there are areas dedicated to like children playgrounds and sports, etc., etc. So the people that come here is normally because they're either coming to visit somebody or because they know what is in here. And look at that gorgeous tree as well over there. Oh, just gonna catch up with the chat in just a moment. I just want to show you that, as you can see, there's still some some graves that are actually quite recent. So here is this one, which is just from 1969. So this is again one of the few families that are allowed to be buried still in the old cemetery of Southampton, because as you can see, this one goes actually farther back than 1969. We go all the way back to 1915. So there we go. Oh, the rain is coming back, or is that drizzle? I can tell. Nothing major, folks. Never mind. Right, okay. Let's see what you guys have been saying. Adrian, my great uncle is buried with someone else who were killed, oh my God, on the first day of the Battle of the Somme. Adrian, I've not been to the Somme just yet. My dad really wants to go, and we've been trying to organize a trip for a really long time. But we've been to Normandy, and we've been to several of the places that got bombed in there. And I mean, just seeing a normal place completely terrifies you. But when you know what actually happened in the Somme, it's, I can't imagine it. I hope you think of him every day. Absolutely putting down here, yeah. It started raining here as well. Oh, thank you, John, for your tip. Thank you, Ivy. Oh, yeah, it's just started raining again, so I don't know if I've lost the signal temporarily there. I'm just gonna wait a moment. Okay, I'm just gonna carry on walking just because we had some people passing by. So yeah, if we suddenly drop signal, do let me know, because it's just started raining again. I'm just sort of trying to use the umbrella as a parapet. And here is the other grave that I wanted to show you, which is actually very recent as well. It's from the early 20th century. But it's here, like tucked next to a tree, so not everyone gets to see it. It is very charming. It's actually in the memory of a young child. And normally when we have children and things like that, you can see that the art is a bit more elaborate because, well, I mean, we were talking about this when we were doing our walk, so I might as well share with you. It's always one of the, I think, reality checks when you're walking through places that are as old as this, because even in the 19th century, right, we sort of think that because it's modern that we, had better lifespan, etc. And admittedly, we did. But the mortality rates for infants back then were still super high. So if we're talking about just the general average, then obviously it's very low because those mortality rates were still very high. But some people in the 19th century would make it to really old age. So it's always a bit deceptive trying to figure out, population averages and statistics during the period. Okay, I'm getting a little wet now. As long as you guys are dry, then it's fine. John in York, his wife brought him a hands-free umbrella. Oh my God, that sounds like a great idea, Adrian. I think I need to invest in one of those. Well, normally I'm about with my rain jacket and my cover, and it's not much of a problem. But it just caught us completely by surprise. Yes, Bev, we are in England. We're in Southampton Common. Whoa, look at, yeah, I know, it genuinely is going for it. And the weather forecast completely lied to us as well, because it said that it was going to rain at night, but then I shouldn't be surprised, right? Who trusts the weather forecast? Who is this foolish woman to trust the weather forecast of the BBC? I mean, they tend to be relatively accurate, but, well, English weather. If you were wondering what it was like, now you know. Right, we're almost at the exit, but I wanted to show you this grave here with this pretty tree. Okay, and now we can carry on walking. So yeah, I suspect by the time we get out, if I get to the lake, which was the part I wanted to show you, we're gonna be like the only people in the park. But hey, that means that you have the entire park for yourselves. I don't know how James is holding up. Like, if I turn around too much to the right, I encounter his hand. So I hope, how are you doing?
Soaked.
Oh, okay. I mean, my left arm is a bit wet. So there we go. We are sharing the load, guys. Oh my God. Like I said, complete. This was in no way, shape, or form, what we expected this to be. Right, and this is our last view of the cemetery. So here is to all of these, people who we don't necessarily know, but that actually paved the community of Southampton and that created, the way forward for this city to become what it is today, which is capital number one for courses in the whole of Europe. So thank you for paving the way. Right, so we are literally just about to get out of the cemetery into the park itself. I'll tell you a little bit of the history. Yeah. I'll tell you a bit more about the history of the park because there is actually some historical evidence for it. And hopefully, excellent. There is literally nobody around, so no surprises. Don't worry. I am being careful. As you can see, it's not a complete sort of wild park. There is actually like cement roads in here, so it's not too bad. But I just want to go to the area where you see that tree there, because that is the lake. It's actually an artificial. There is two lakes. One of them, which is this one, is the cemetery lake, and then another one is an artificial lake, which are part of the area that is protected as a sort of not just the community of Southampton, but I think they're actually considered areas of scientific value for the United Kingdom. So I'm just gonna, normally I would just throw along the grass in here, but to avoid any accidents, I'm just gonna take the long walk and take you there, because that's an area where sometimes they also do fishing. So it's just a nice view. And if it starts raining like it's doing again, yep, it is again. Here we go. We may actually have a little bit of shelter because there are some big trees in here. So hopefully you can see a few crows. We may also see a few squirrels. But unfortunately, because of the rain, a lot of the wildlife may have hidden away. Right. Now, I don't know if this gate is still open. Let me just see if I can figure it out. It is open. And look, there's lots of ducks getting wet, which I guess, they don't really mind because they're already in the water. But yeah, I'm just going to stand here by the trees to have a little bit of dry cover, and then I can give you a proper view of the lake. Whew, okay, right. I'm just going to go past the umbrella and get you here where we can see this better. Okay, this is the lake. This is the cemetery lake. So like I was saying at the beginning of the tour, the waterworks and the waterways of Southampton Common are protected biodiversity. It's not just for the sake of the wildlife, but just because having an environment like this in the middle of town is very valuable. So let me just give you a full panoramic here. And this is the area, well, particularly that one that you've seen in the middle, where we would probably see some of those rare newts if the weather wasn't like when it is today. But you can see that the ducks are quite happy here. They don't mind us. They don't mind the rain. I'm just gonna, as it's dry now and I'm having a moment to dry my hand, I'm just gonna slide up the chat to see what you guys have been saying. Adrian, I also look on eBay for military supplies. That's actually a really good idea. Because honestly, those things that are designed for the army, they just always have everything that you need. And you can just throw them in a backpack, it's light, and just get on with it. Know this bit, fed the ducks. Oh, that's lovely, Liz. My view is still of the mausoleum. Oh, Mary, have you tried refreshing? I always think the saddest part of cemetery is the overgrown, neglected part. Yeah, that's so true, Katie. It's like, in a way, it's nice that sort of nature is embracing, I guess, an aspect of humanity. But when no one goes to visit those places, it does make me sad because, these are our ancestors. So I'm so happy that you at least can appreciate it and, realize that these people mattered. Irina, it's honestly...
She's not getting wet. Believe me, she is not getting wet.
Oh my god. I'm not. That is James who is holding the umbrella for me. I only have one arm wet. He's probably a lot wetter than me. Well, Mary, now that you've refreshed, all of the ducks have sort of sat here in front of us. So it's probably a much nicer postcard than a moment ago. Oh, and a couple of them are fighting at the back, but I've just missed them. Oh. I don't know if I'm gonna be fast enough to catch them. Oh, there he goes. Oh, there he goes. Did you guys see them? Oh, let's see if I can catch them. There they go. And now they're completely standstill. Well, there we go. Yes, Liz, I definitely owe James a drink or two. Right, we're gonna try and make our way out of the lake area. Bear with me because, well, it keeps on teasing us. It sort of gets wet and not wet. But yes, they were geese. The other two were definitely ducks, but these were geese. Okay, let's just grab this thing. I don't know if you can see, there is a brave runner making it over there. The pigeons, you can't see them because they're too far away. But on the other side of the park, right before it started raining, one of the reasons why the park is really popular is because you can come here and do barbecues. And as I'm sure you can imagine, with the nicer weather, it's lovely. So there was a very big group of students over there because the university is not far from here. And they had a barbecue that they had just started as the rain came down. So the pigeons are just helping themselves to the leftovers. Which, I mean, it's fair enough. It's their house at the end of the day. They can help themselves to whatever they want. Typical English puns with just, yeah, that's so true. I never realized that until I came here because the puns in Spain always have different ducks. But it is just classic. Right, so this is literally just the rest of the park. I would normally cut across the big area that you've seen just a moment ago because, well, it will get us to a much more interesting area. But unfortunately, because of the weather, I can't really do that. Bear with me while we make our way around. And in the meantime, I'll tell you a few historical facts about this park because, like I said, history in this area of the city is still quite prevalent, even though it's not as a historical place as some of the other places in Southampton that I've shown you. It still matters. So we're going all the way back to the Stone Age, to the Paleolithic, and the archaeological surveys of this area of Southampton actually show that the early establishments of Homo sapiens happened here in Southampton Common. We don't know an awful lot about them. Oh, look at that dog. He's just happy now. We don't know a lot about these communities. We didn't find all those many remains, but we know they would have started settlement here. And in fact, in the very early records of the population that was here before Southampton itself, for those of you who haven't come to my Southampton tours before, Southampton is originally, the city that we see is originally part of the Norman refoundation of England. Before that, we had a small Anglo-Saxon settlement in the area between the city centre and now the common, which is what you're seeing, which was called Hamwick. And we know that in the borough of Hamwick, there is mention to a communal park, which would have been this that you're seeing now. And that dates as far back as 500 AD, give or take. With these records, it's always hard to tell. You can see some happy crows here. So that means that the common has always been here, and it's been sort of regarded as a big communal space. And we get a better idea of why these areas were so important for communities like this in the first proper record of the common detailing the things that is in there in the later Middle Ages. Now, I don't know if any of you were on my tour the other day of St. Boniface Church. We were in the area of Shirley, which is another residential part of Southampton that used to be its own little town, and now it's just part of Southampton because it's just taken over. Well, during the 13th century, the Lord of Shirley Manor, which would have been the origin to the borough of Shirley, so this would have been a local lord that had his estates there, and then a community grew around it. He was actually supposedly in possession of Southampton Common. Please do that again if you can, please. Which one, Liz? Oh yes, the San Boniface. Yes, I follow you now. Sorry. So this lord supposedly was in charge of the common, but the citizens of Southampton Borough, who would have been, well, I say citizens, it wasn't a city yet, but the people who lived in the borough of Southampton actually started a dispute against this man, saying, no, 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 Southampton Common actually belongs to us. They actually took it to the court, and the result of the court is, well, quite typical for the Middle Ages. The Lord actually agreed to take back his rights to the common as long as there was some compensation. So, they pay him off, and the borough of Southampton becomes officially, once again, the owner of the common. Now, why would a space like this been so important for a community such as Southampton? Well, by being a common land, by the laws of the Middle Ages, it would have meant that anyone, and I mean anyone, didn't matter who you were, what your name was, where you came from, as long as you actually lived in the borough of Southampton, that's all that mattered. You could come here and help yourself to, well, as you can see, plenty of firewood. You could help yourself to berries, any other sort of natural resources, and food that you would find in here, and you wouldn't have to pay a penny. It was for free. It was supposed to be just a way for the locals to live from nature and make it, to the end of the month or whatever else. Right, let me just show you here very quickly an opening into the area where the barbecues happen. So that's where we've come from. I don't know if you can see, the sun is trying to shine over there, but I don't think it's gonna make it. So because this was such an important, resource for the community, that's why they fought so hard. The Lord of Shirley Manor had plenty of money himself, and he had plenty of land. He didn't need this. But the citizens of Southampton, other than the sea, they didn't really have much more going for them. And the closer that you get into the area of the Solent, which is the water body that we have by Southampton, the more sort of clay-like is the terrain. So it's not very good for crops or anything like that. So an area like this was super useful. And the most important part of those natural resources was that this was all grazing land. So of course, as you can see, we have all of these wonderful trees, which go back, hundreds and hundreds of years. But we also had lots of open fields where you could bring your cows. And in fact, there is a pub that if you ever come to Southampton, and maybe Liz knows it, if you take the road that links Southampton to Winchester, it's just outside of the common, and it's called the Cowherds Inn. And it's because that building, since the 17th century, was the official sort of house to keep in check how many cows everyone had grazing in here. To begin with, you could sort of bring as many as you wanted, but after a while, because the demand kind of got bigger and the population got higher, you had a maximum of 2 cows that you could bring each day here to the common to graze. And that's why the cows herd was a very important building for the city. Nowadays, it's just a pub, which is just as important for the city, right? For different reasons. But as you can imagine, on a nice, hot, sunny day here at the common, to then be able to go to the Cowherd Inn and get a drink or even a meal is just the perfect combination. I was hoping we would be able to get there, but unfortunately, if the weather was nicer, we would have been able to cut through the woods, and that wouldn't be an issue. But with this rain, it would just be too dangerous, guys. I'm sorry about that. Maybe next time when it's not like this, we can try. So, other than what the common has been actually used for the community itself, we know, like I said, that we have a small hospital to take care of people with cholera here. For those of you who don't know, cholera was a very, very horrible disease, and particularly portuary communities, because of the access to water, etc., suffered from it a lot. So Southampton did have very severe outbreaks of cholera towards the late 19th century. And then in the 20th century, as the war starts, Southampton Common actually becomes a military camp. Not the whole of the common, but a huge part of it. They actually took down some of the buildings that were around this area, actually, if I can show you. So there is a little house in here, which is actually nothing to do with what I'm going to tell you, but around this area, they also had the prison for quite some time. The gallows of Southampton were here from the early 18th century until 1765. And this was also the place where they realized public executions. The last one in 1765, we actually have records for it. It was a so-called William Sawyer who stole some silver from a woman who lived in Bedford Place, which is actually my neighborhood that I'm going to be showing you on Thursday. So that was the last public execution that takes place here, and when the gallows officially sort of get taken down. So the buildings that were left over from that would have been cleared or semi-cleared by the First World War. The ones who were still in good state, they would have repurposed for the war camp. The vast majority of the efforts from the war camp here in the common during the First World War would have been mostly to keep the supplies and to house the people who were being sent off to Normandy. Because although Southampton was not big for the Navy itself, because that's what we have Portsmouth for, just, down the road, we were huge in terms of administration of supplies. So a lot of the paramedics, a lot of the support from the military actually came from here. And that's why they took over this whole area. And then, after a period of, well, more or less peace and quiet, we have yet again the same thing happening during the Second World War. Except, on top of having the military camp, we also had area dedicated to war prisoners. So we know they actually built that purposefully. We don't have a lot of details of who those war prisoners may have been or why they were here in Southampton. It's not like, it would have been the most strategic location aside from the port, and that got mostly raided by aircraft. So it's a bit mysterious as to what the role of that war camp would have been, but we know it would have been located roughly around this area that we're walking now. So as you can see, it's quite an interesting part, because despite its very big importance, well, for nature, science, etc., it's, well, a living and breathing part of the community, and has been ever since humans actually walked around this area, which is, really interesting, because there is not many parks, not many green spaces like this that you can say, my God, our connection to this part of the city goes all the way back to the Stone Age, like literally prehistory. And the weather is giving us some respite, so let me point toward these beautiful trees that we have in here. I hope you can see them. I mean, there is still a little bit of drizzle, but it's not as bad as it was. And we are pretty much getting to the end of the tour. I just wanted to take you to the Ornamental Lake, which is the other lake that we have in the common. So the one where the skies opened and we saw the ducks and the geese, that was the Cemetery Lake. And then this one is an artificial lake that they did, well, for several purposes. I'm just gonna sort of give you a good space so you can see it. Okay, so the Ornamental Lake was created roughly towards the end of the 19th century, and it was really designed as a space for recreation and contemplation. You were supposed to be here to sort of, come and calm down. It's allowed for people to actually come fishing here, which is unusual, but you can actually come and fish in this lake. You can catch anything between a rudd, a tench, and a crucian carp. I'll give you another view of the lake from one of the little sidewalks in just a second. And yeah, I mean, this is really what they did it for. It was part of the waterworks of the 19th century. So as you can see, during the 19th century, Southampton went really big on the protection of wildlife and generally our open spaces. because our parks in the city center also date from that time. And as you can see, the common got an upgrade here too. So let me give you, right, I'm just gonna go as far as I can go before. As you can see, I'm literally almost on the edge, not quite. So I'm gonna be very careful here, guys, bear with me. So here is our ornamental lake for quiet contemplation. There are once again some marlins having their little rumble there. And as you can see, it carries on and on. I'm just gonna zoom in to see if you can see a bit farther towards the back. There's actually someone reading underneath that tree. That guy definitely chose the moment to start reading. But it's very serene, as you can see. Very quiet, very peaceful. And that's why we like it. Right. And that is pretty much the end of the tour, guys. Oh, give me 1 second. I'm just gonna move away from the edge where it's slippery, and I'm just gonna turn the camera to say goodbye to you guys. Right, okay. Okay, so hey, we made it. We actually, oh my God, look at my hair. Okay, yeah, this was an interesting experience. I am sorry for the rain and any potential issues that may have caused. It's definitely been the weirdest stream that we've done. Look at poor James in here. He survived the rain as well. Thank you so.
Just as we ended.
Yeah, I know, it's so annoying. I knew this would happen. It started pouring down as we started streaming. And as soon as we are to stop, oh, look at it, fantastic, nice weather. Well, this is British weather, so it's unfortunately how it goes. But yeah, honestly, it's all thanks to James. If he wasn't holding the umbrella, I'm not sure I would have survived. So all of the kudos go to James today. And thank you honestly so much, guys, for sticking with us despite of the rain and everything, because, you know, even though you're seeing it through the screen, it's not the same than seeing it on a nice sunny day. But hopefully in the summer, when I come back from Spain, I'll do another walk. It would be better, fingers crossed, and then we can see it on a better light. So thank you so much for that. Oh, thank you so much, Pauline. Thank you, Mary. I hope you guys liked it. And like I said, if you are about on Thursday, I will be doing a couple of talks as well as a walk around our neighborhood, so you can find out where that man stole some silver and where all of the best restaurants in Southampton are. And I will also be in Portsmouth this Sunday, and we've never been to Portsmouth, so if you're wondering what else is to do in the south of England, then come and join us. And oh, thank you so much, guys. You are so lovely. Thank you so much, Poppy. Thank you so much, Linda. You guys take care. Thank you, Ivy. Have a very dry day in Arizona. See you later. Bye-bye. Bye.